Hi, Dorota. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Looking forward to, talking to you and possibly being able to, interact a bit. Let's see.
Yes, exactly. So I'd like to welcome one of my favorite future of work speakers, Dorota. So thanks a lot for taking this time and joining us.
Sure.
Dorota used to, we met with Dorota while she was head of people at NetGuru and in the beginning of the pandemic, right after. And now she's currently running people and organization development at HCM Deck. So, and today we are going to talk about quite a few different topics. And the main item being motivation 3.0, autonomy, B corporations, and talent development in hybrid reality. So welcome again, Dorota.
Thank you very much.
Stage is yours. Yeah.
Thank you, Alp. Thank you so much. And yes, as you mentioned, actually we met right at the start of the pandemics. And I was, I might say, lucky enough to have been working at NetGuru for quite some time back then. And NetGuru, for those of you, for sure, many of you don't know the company, is one of the pioneers of remote work. So I was happy to kind of feel equipped and to have learned many things the hard way before the pandemic hit. So I was ready to share with you some of my experiences, some of the lessons learned. And yes, this is, I remember what we discussed, different ways how to actually go about collaboration and communication in remote teams, right?
Exactly. So it was probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest, online remote event after the pandemic. It was actually in March, and you shared amazing insights. And at NetGuru, how many people were working?
Back then, there were 700 people. Already it was really rapidly scaling, and at the same time it was really remote first. We had a couple of offices, so we were also experiencing this hybrid ways of working because we really wanted to foster belonging, help people and also exchange knowledge more face to face. But essentially the company was, I would say, remote, smart, ready, and we switched overnight. So 700 people. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so the stage is yours, Dorota.
Thank you very much.
We are listening. Thank you.
All right, so as Paul mentioned, maybe just a couple of words about me in a sec. And before I share some tips and experience, I will try to explain what I understand by Motivation 3.0, what is Motivation 3.0, and why I believe in it so much, why I believe it's even more important now and in our today's reality, hybrid reality. And I will also try to combine it with the challenges and opportunities of the hybrid reality, and then share how I feel we can implement or go about the three elements of Motivation 3.0, which is autonomy, which is mastery. Here I called it talent development, but it's essentially mastery, and then purpose. Yeah, and here I call it B Corps, but I'll refer to it first as purpose, and then tell you about B Corps a little bit more, because this is how I went about it, about creating more purpose for people at work. Yeah. So a couple of words about me. As I mentioned, I've worked in many different people function roles, in many different, I would say, executive roles as well. And I highlighted a couple of them that I believe are particularly important for our today's topic. One is me working for many years as an L&D, learning and development manager, global leadership training. So really a trainer, so really working a lot with global leaders on those critical leadership skills. Today's summit is all about future ready skills as well. So I believe this is what is very close to my heart, has been very, very close to my heart for years. Then it's, as we mentioned with Alp, remote smart, about, and also B Corp pioneer, because back then, I can tell you that we were the first company in Poland, and actually in Europe, I would say one of the first ones in Europe at this scale that was going remote, and also one of the first ones, I wouldn't say in Europe, in Eastern Europe back then, in Central and Eastern Europe, to become a B Corp, so B Corporation, certified B Corporation, and I will tell you a little bit more about it. And then, of course, me being today as this Vice President People and Org Development in a HR for good company, so to speak, because HCM Deck is about people development. But in general, I think it's also this, I like to call it HR for good and HR tech for good companies. All right, so let me get started and maybe share with you what Motivation 3.0 is all about for me, and in general where it comes from. Many of you might have heard about it because the term was coined by Daniel Pink in his groundbreaking book, Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. And if I were to summarize the book in just one sentence, it would be this quote. Yeah, that our era today isn't about better business management. Yeah, because we keep improving, of course, we kept improving, but people seem to need more these days, right? And it calls for a renaissance of self-direction. People really want to feel they have an impact. People want to feel they have a say. They have an impact not on just what they do and their own lives, but also on something bigger than themselves. And this is how they get, how they are driven. So hence the title, Drive. This is how they are much more effective. This is how they are much more engaged at work. And this is how we can also prevent burnout. We can prevent the great resignation of today. And this is how we can be much more competitive as businesses in the so-called war for talent. Yeah, but more on that in a second. Okay, if I were very briefly walk you through the motivation 1.0, 2.0 to 3.0, just to give you a little bit more of a background. So motivation 1.0 is was very kind of, I would say, important in the industrial era. Yeah, people really, it was all about really making sure they have enough to live by. Yeah, they can earn enough to, just feed their families. And then it was, of course, much more. Motivation 2.0 was about my career ladder, right? My progress on that career ladder, different rewards, different additional comps and bends. And now most of us actually have, motivation 1.0 and 2.0 is something that we feel is fulfilled. Yes, it's something we don't need to seek anymore. It's there, kind of quite easy to get. So what we need as organizations is really invest in motivation 3.0. So it's something that is not extrinsic, but it's something very much internal, intrinsic. It's the so-called intrinsic motivation. So, and it's much stronger. It gives us much stronger drive. And what it also gives is the so-called discretionary effort, which means that we are open, we are willing to do much more than is actually requested, because we feel we contribute to something that is good for ourselves, good to not just for our companies, but much, much more than this. So we are contributing to something bigger than ourselves. I will give you an example, maybe to illustrate that. You might have heard about this competition in 1995. It's very often quoted. And this competition was all about creating the best encyclopedia. And there were two companies participating in that contest. There was Microsoft. Everyone knows Microsoft, and everyone, of course, expected Microsoft to win because they had those great professional writers that were paid good money to create content. And there was another group that took part in the competition, in this contest. It was a group of volunteers driven by a high purpose of creating something for the benefit of society, something in a fun and collaborative way. And on top of that, not being paid a penny. And of course, yes, guess who won? I mean, that's kind of clear. Microsoft created MS Carta. I'm even wondering if anyone of you has ever heard about it. And a group of volunteers created Wikipedia that we know until this very day keeps developing. And this is what this intrinsic motivation brought about. This is how they were very effective, high quality, having this impression of learning from each other and contributing to something much bigger than themselves. One more illustration, maybe to help you and close the definition of motivation 3.0 to start with. If you think of what motivation 3.0 is about, it's everything below the line. Yes, so it's reaping satisfaction and drive from feedback, from meaningful role, from having a challenging task, from having a clear task as well, from a feeling that we are getting better at things, so it's mastery, from learning from others and with others, which is social, right? And it's of course about clear goals, transparency, and so forth. Yeah, and the kind of previous motivation 2.0 was more about those kind of things that are very visible, yes, but actually don't give us this huge drive. Yeah, so it's about, to wrap it up, learning, creating, and also bettering the world. Yeah, because it instills this effectiveness of autonomy, engagement, and clarity of purpose at work and with teams. All right, so this is what, according to Daniel Pink, motivation 3.0 consists of. These are the 3 elements, and these are the ones that I would like to explore with you in more detail with some examples today. So it's purpose, so it's exactly what I referred to. So the desire to serve something bigger than ourselves. Then it's mastery. So it's the desire to get better at something that matters. Yeah, and really the desire to see our progress, yeah, especially for millennials and beyond. This fast track development is very, very important. It's something that motivates them on an everyday basis. And then, of course, it's autonomy, the desire to direct our lives, both private, personal, and professional lives, for seeing that we have an impact, we have a say at the table as well. So all these 3 elements, they are very, very important, but very difficult actually in hybrid reality. And we'll try to explore those challenges and the opportunities that usually come with any challenge. All right, let me first tell you why I believe it's so critical, yeah, today. So as I mentioned before, because it matters so much for millennials and Gen Z in particular, not just for them, but it's kind of scientifically already proven through different research that what drives millennials and Gen Z, and they are making up 70% of the talent pool already. This is exactly the purpose and mastery. Yeah, so this is the so-called new currency for them. It's not really money. They really, of course, care about this hygienic level and about interesting jobs altogether, and working for let's say exciting companies. But what they really care about most is autonomy, purpose, mastery. So in this war for talent, it's really a very, very important element that we know how to retain and engage and retain, but also how to attract new top talent to our companies. So we really need to redefine the way we go about it. Yeah, we really need to think how to be hybrid smart, in particular with this group of potential or current employees. All right, so a couple of other notions of why it matters now, and it's nothing new for you. We all live in a very, I would say, in the era of anxiety. Yeah, we know that. So it's all about health, anxiety, mental and physical health, of course. It's about different ecological challenges. Yeah, so environmental anxiety. It's about society polarization and the anxiety related to that. It's about political polarization and the anxiety that comes with this. And of course, it's our compassion fatigue. Even if we are not affected by these challenges, of course, we see other people suffer, or we see other people struggle, and we empathize. And through that also, we experience the so-called compassion fatigue, even sometimes if it's not something directly affecting us on an everyday basis. And last but surely not least is exactly what we are discussing today. So it's workplace revolution, anxiety, and all about all those challenges coming with the hybrid work setup. Okay, so let's now try and discuss what challenges and opportunities this hybrid workplace brings with itself. And I'll try to also share right after some ideas with you. Okay, so of course, if you think of the challenge, the key challenges, or let's name just one overarching challenge. The one overarching challenge is basically disrupted ways of collaboration, right? So it's both intra-team and cross-team. We do not, collaborate the way we used to, just because we don't see each other. Many things do not we do not learn through osmosis. We build trust much slower. There are many different aspects to that. Yeah, it's simply disrupted on many different levels. And so, of course, we have much weaker information and knowledge sharing. And also, because of that, peer-to-peer learning habits. What that impacts is what we said is so important in this Motivation 3.0. So it's this weaker sense of development and mastery. Yeah, it's obvious. Yeah, that somehow we need to be much more intentional about development and letting people feel they develop through also working with others and learning from others and with others in their jobs. Yeah, so like this learning in the flow of work. Because of that, we also have a weaker sense of belonging to the team, right? And the company. And of course, weaker sense of purpose, because we usually, have a much stronger sense of purpose when it's shared with others. Yeah. So through that, it simply by the nature of things becomes weaker. Or in some companies that tend to micromanage and struggle with building the trust culture, we have the opposite of that. We have all information, communication, collaboration overload, and screen fatigue. And because of that, a weaker sense of autonomy. So if you think about that, all three key elements that I mentioned of Motivation 3.0 are at stake here: mastery, purpose, autonomy. Yeah. What that causes obviously is mental, physical, emotional strain, and so of course burnout and the great resignation. But okay, not to be that pessimistic, all challenges come with certain opportunities. And of course, the key opportunity here for us is really this big business imperative, I think, and this new business case for redesigning communication and collaboration habits, both asynchronous and synchronous. Yeah. And I'm mentioning a couple of examples here. Later on, we'll touch on more. So of course, what is really important is to look how we, go about one-on-one routines with the leader. Do our people have enough of exposure to the leader? Also to feel recognized, to feel taken care of, but also to learn from the leader, who is usually more experienced. Do we have enough of team planning and status update routines, so that we have this shared sense of purpose and, working on common goals? But at the same time, do we have space? Because sometimes we have this space for planning and status, but we don't have enough space for team bonding, shared identity, and shared purpose rituals. Yeah, so something that we really pause for a moment and think and simply enjoy and let people recharge and see the bigger sense of purpose than just some short-term goals that you're working on. But also you talk about long-term goals, strategy, mission, vision, and how your company contributes to a wider society, maybe community, local communities or customers, so that your people also have a sense of what they impact and what positive impact they have through their individual work. And of course, it's also about team recognition rituals. Yeah, if we recognize this impact, but also the individual and team contribution to that company goal. What is also important, and that goes with mastery, the need for mastery, to getting better, feeling that we keep developing, is the space for team knowledge exchange. So specifically for really knowledge exchange rituals and peer-to-peer learning routines and opportunities. Because only once we review these and see that they bring quality, that they have clear purpose, these different routines and rituals, we can improve Motivation 3.0. And of course, through that, engagement and retention. Okay, let me look at move on and to look at them one by one. So if you think of mastery, what we can do, as regards mastery in particular in this hybrid reality, I believe what we really need to focus on is trying to foster mastery, help people develop through focus on collaborative learning. Yeah, social collaborative learning does not mean it happens on social media. Social collaborative learning means that it happens basically simply by making opportunities for people to work on stretch assignments, interesting projects, on, like in-company webinars, lunch and learns, different initiatives where they learn from each other. So what we try and do is we should shift from offering programs, and it's a big shift that also Josh Bershin very much writes about, the importance of shifting from offering programs to creating opportunities is really, really important and not to be undervalued. Then we have this, that means basically that it's about creating space for collaborative social learning, peer-to-peer learning, as I said, and on-the-job stretch assignments rather than learning programs. So I will have 3 tips for all 3 elements of Motivation 3.0. So tip 1 is foster growth mindset. Define it as your key company competence, or mindset, so to speak. Reward continuous learning and helping others learn as well. Then create opportunities for learning in the flow of work. See how you can redesign your routines and rituals so that you have space for that. You really redesign collaboration habits. And last but not least, of course, build supportive digital work tech ecosystem. So it's about communication, about learning experience tools, but of course, make sure it's not too overwhelming, but it's really supportive and not yet another distraction. All right, Motivation 3.0 element, or I would say pillar number 2, is autonomy, and how to go about it in this hybrid reality. For me, what I think is critical is this autonomy through focus on psychological safety combined with accountability. Very often we know companies struggle trusting, building trust. They say, how can I know that somebody is delivering on what we've agreed, right? So it's all about building trust-based, innovative and high-performing teams by creating space for autonomous work and learning from and being accountable for one's own mistakes, not just successes. And how to go about it? On the one hand, foster psychological safety and blame-free culture. I have seen it. I've advised many different tech scale-ups and startups. I know how important that is, that you have, on the one hand, high psychological safety, and at the same time, performance accountability. And this is where the so-called learning zone happens. And this is this dark blue quadrant here. If you have high psychological safety and no accountability, of course, we have comfort zone. If there is a low psychological safety and low performance accountability, we have apathy zone. And if we have low psychological safety but very high performance accountability, you have a lot of anxiety and anxiety zone. So it's really important to think about it. There are a lot of really good frameworks out there now on the internet available for everyone. This is from Amy Edmondson that I'm sharing here with you, but I really believe it's worth investing in this element of culture, psychological safety. Then, of course, it's about something I've mentioned before: establish regular team routines to strategize, plan, and give status. But on the other hand, promotes asynchronous, autonomous work and ownership. So if you have routines where you strategize, plan, and give status, then you need to trust your people, leave them alone for them to deliver asynchronously. Yeah, and just make sure you foster that ownership and empowerment culture. And 3, again, as mentioned before, build supportive digital work tech ecosystem, collaboration, and communication tools. Of course, it's one of the biggest challenges, I know, for most companies to have to pick cleverly, to make sure it's very kind of, I would say, compatible, and it's really supportive and not overwhelming. So you're not alone there. If it's one of your challenges, as you can see here, I'm sharing the Deloitte's Global Human Capital Trend Survey from this year. Of course, it's number 1 challenge for most companies still. And it's a huge market. Just to show you, we have 12 market categories in work tech alone. So it's work tech, not just HR tech, So it's really not easy to pick well, but I think there are a lot of guides and a lot of materials out there how to go about it. But if you think of this market, it exploded. Performance management in particular, of course, learning, workplace productivity, all these apps and technologies is developing and being better and better for people as well. So good luck with this. Now, last but surely not least, purpose. Purpose through contributing to something bigger than ourselves. And of course, we can try and make sure that we do that through everyday jobs. And it's great if we do that. We let people see the impact on the company outcome or beyond, ideally on clients, on communities, depending on what our business is about. But perhaps it's also worth considering becoming a certified B Corporation. And I promised to Alp that I would just give you a little bit of an intro of why it's really worth considering what that means for a company. B Corps, they believe that people want to work for, buy from, and invest in businesses they believe in, increasingly so, especially millennials and beyond. And B Corp certification is the most powerful way to build credibility, trust, and value for your workers, for the community, for the environment, for the customers. Yeah, it's very much, I think, this is the concept, yeah, that you have a positive impact on all these areas, right? So remember, again, the war for talent, the need to retain people, the need to prevent burnout and great resignation. This is a very powerful tool. And there are many, many companies that really, this is the way they build their business now. They want to see themselves as a force for good. You have a couple of brands here. I also had the pleasure to actually lead NetGuru to a B Corp certification. I'll share a bit on that in a sec. So certified B corporations are about, they are conferred this certification. You go through an audit, 3 sentences about that in a sec. But essentially these companies meet a high level of social and environmental performance and make a legal commitment to consider all stakeholders. This is what makes them really, I would say, seen as as places, workplaces contributing to something bigger than just the business outcome. Yeah, and that's why employees are so drawn to the B Corps. If you think of the assessment, these are the 5 areas. So it's about community, about governance, how we govern the company. It's first and foremost about the employees, the workers, but also about the customers, about the suppliers, and the environment. Any company can actually think of how they can contribute and what their strength is. With NetGuru, what we did, for example, and NetGuru was a software consultancy and also product design consultancy, all about mobile and web applications. So what we decided back then was that we would come up with the R&D for good. And we started with the new digital transformation program for nonprofits. Yeah, this is how we supported basically also the community and the environment. So any company can think of how they can impact through their business activities. But first and foremost, it's also auditing how ethical we are with our employees. So it's about governance, as you can see. It's about employees a lot. And about, of course, community, as I mentioned, business model, environment. So many different elements, but this is something everyone can attempt and can even go and try and have an audit without, like online on the B Corp webpage, just to see, okay, are we far from it? Are we far from the ideal? What do we need to actually revisit? What do we need to rethink to become more ethical, more kind of a business for good? A couple of reasons why to become a B Corp. They, of course, want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, but for many of them, they also see a business sense in it. Yeah, so it's also not just about attracting and engaging talent that is on this list as well, but it's about really like this future forward thinking leadership. It's about differentiating from pretenders, as they put, but it's also very much about building, selling to peers, to other B Corps, being supported by other B Corps, and of course, just making money, of course, through that. Yeah. So if I were to sum up, my time is up slowly. So this motivation 3.0, how I see it in the hybrid reality is mastery. So talent development through focus on collaborative learning and different routines and rituals. Of course, tools are important, but it's much more important that we just look at the culture and how things work as regards our collaboration design. Then it's autonomy. So it's talent engagement and development through focus on psychological safety, building it, revisiting it, investing in it, combined with accountability. Again, digital ecosystem is important, but not the most important here. And then purpose, making sure that you engage talent and you retain talent through contributing to something bigger than, you know, themselves and ourselves, so that they see a bigger, a higher purpose in everything they do on an everyday basis. Yeah, so these are the most important takeaways from me. And add just a question, if we have any time for questions, please let me know, because I tried to give a very brief overview. I could talk forever. You know, we had a discussion that I could have like an hour on that.
I know. Thanks so much, Dorota. I mean, I had quite a few questions, like from, I want to ask from on the job stretch assignments to how to choose from these 12 categories, or, you know, like methods of introducing B Corps. But we are running a bit short on time, and now we have the next one coming. So maybe maybe I will get that from you later and share with our community. Yes. And it was an amazing presentation. Thanks a lot. I think B Corps is a game changer.
Yes, I very much believe so.
In terms of purpose and purpose-oriented culture, individuals and employees. And thanks so much for taking this time.
Thank you. And yeah, looking forward to connecting for those of you who'd like to connect, and enjoy the rest of this great summit.
Thank you, Dorota. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.